and it's not really intimidating. I think maybe some people might get intimidated. Well, healthcare, I don't have a lot of experience in healthcare, so I'm not going to talk to a company in that segment because of lack of experience. But the bottom line is, if you're a good publicist and you're strategic and you're smart in your approach and you know how to develop relationships with people in the media, for example, those principles lay true in all media, regardless of segment or industry specific expertise. Same holds true for advertising, whether it be digital advertising, whether it be traditional advertising. If you know how to negotiate and you know how to plan a good strategic media buy and plan, then I think you're going to be successful.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, your go-to guide to solving your biggest marketing agency challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Alton, and each episode is an honest and frank look at what agencies go through, from turning clients to tackling tech and ideas that you can apply to your own business. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, where each and every week we're talking to marketing agencies like you, going through many of the same struggles you're going through and sharing their stories. Subscribe to find in each episode the inspiration, the motivation, and the perspiration that go into growing and scaling agencies like yours. And many agency owners find themselves trapped in a single industry niche, constantly fighting for the same clients and struggling to break through growth plateaus. You developed expertise in one vertical, but the market's getting saturated. Competition's driving down prices, and you're vulnerable to industry specific downturns. What if expanding into multiple industries could be the key to sustainable growth? Is diversification the answer to building a more resilient agency, or will it just dilute your focus and reputation? Today, we're joined by David Neff, founder and president of Neff, an award-winning full-service advertising and public relations agency with over 35 years of experience. David has transformed his agency from a local player into a regional and national powerhouse, serving the real estate, restaurant, hospitality, and retail industries. His strategic approach to expansion across multiple sectors offers a blueprint for agencies looking to scale beyond their original niche. Hey, David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I'm really happy to be here.
My pleasure. I'm really excited to dive into this with you because I think, frankly, this is contrary advice to what I'm used to hearing. So I'd love if you could just start by sharing your origin story of the agency and what was the industry that you initially focused on before expanding?
Great question, Mike. The initial industry that Neff started in was telecommunications. In the mid 80s, when we started, I was director of marketing for a national reseller of AT&T. And at that company, I was able to grow their customer base by about 300% in 9 months. So at the time, I was I had the world to gain, I had nothing to lose, and I had a couple clients solicit me knowing that I was the guy behind the rapid growth of this telecommunications company. They solicited me to submit proposals to them, for marketing campaigns similar to what I had done for the company that I was employed by, and I submitted the proposals, and we were hired for like several of those client opportunities. And lo and behold, I was in the agency business on my own. I had planned on parlaying the telecommunications experience back into a larger agency, but that never happened because of the opportunity that, I stumbled upon.
Yeah. So, what were some of the first signs that told you that expanding beyond telecoms would actually be beneficial to your growth?
Well, Mike, I would love to tell you that I was so strategic in diversifying, but it all happened for selfish reasons. When I stepped back, I said, you know what? I like telecommunications. I know telecommunications, but I would like to go after some more interesting accounts like hospitality and retail and food, um, and real estate. So those were industries that I just thought would be a lot of fun to work on, and I was very much fascinated and enamored with those industries. So, I started targeting some prospects, advertising agency prospects in those industries, and we were hired. And as you well know, in advertising, once you get an account or two in a specific category and you're successful, then it makes it much easier to garner more business in that specific vertical market.
Yeah, that's 100% true. You've got that experience, that street cred, maybe some case studies, makes it
Yep.
all the more easier. I mean, as you're thinking about those first few industries, or maybe ones that you've expanded into since then, was it always just because they just seemed fun, or were there any specific criteria or anything else that you used to kind of evaluate the potential of those industries?
I mean, again, I would love to, I would love for you to think and others that I had this grand strategy and plan, but a lot of it all happened organically. And we did a good job for the clients that we were hired by, but a lot of it was being in the right place at the right time. Like I use the expression, I'd rather be lucky than good. So luck
Mhm.
has been on my side and continues to be on my side. But a lot of people will tell you only people that work hard, the people that work hardest are the luckiest.
100% true. That's so right. Now I'm thinking about how obviously you're starting in each one of these new niches, and we already mentioned,
Yeah.
the importance of bringing on some new clients so that you can demonstrate value and experience and that sort of thing. Were there any other challenges that you were facing as you went into these unfamiliar industries, and how else did you kind of try to overcome that credibility gap?
Well, the best way to build credibility is to have expertise in the areas of the services that you're offering. So to me, quite frankly, the principles of being a g of being effective in marketing and communications and public relations and advertising and media buying, the fundamentals are all the same. It's the If you apply those fundamental principles and experience into new business segments, it becomes, to me, much easier, and it's not really intimidating. I think maybe some people might get intimidated. Well, healthcare, I don't have a lot of experience in healthcare, so I'm not going to talk to a company in that segment because of lack of experience. But the bottom line is, if you're a good publicist and you're strategic and you're smart in your approach and you know how to develop relationships with people in the media, for example, those principles lay true in all media, regardless of segment or industry specific expertise. Same holds true for advertising, whether it be digital advertising, whether it be traditional advertising. If you know how to negotiate and you know how to plan a good strategic media buy and plan, then I think you're going to be successful. It's the same principles. But one also underlying principle and one underlying principle we've always held to is we as an agency are not going to be taken seriously in any business segment unless we are producing award winning, beautiful, most importantly, results driven work. So it's the quality of the strategic plan, and it's the quality and integrity of the design and the creative that really will help you win business, gain credibility, and help you grow your agency.
That makes a lot of sense. So, as you were growing your agency, not just in terms of clients, but also in terms of staff, did this difference in industry affect how you were structuring your agency? Were you cross chaining staff or having specialized teams or anything like that?
Not really.
Okay.
What I had just shared with you is pretty consistent with the experience that your younger colleagues, when you're building a team, they're gaining experience as well in specific areas and understanding whether it's public relations or social media or whether it's advertising and media buying or creating a new brand. The team gains experience, expertise in the disciplines that they're applying to their work day in and day out. And they, in turn, become less intimidated by a new vertical market that maybe we or they have less experience in.
That makes complete sense. I've seen the same thing, like in content marketing. If I'm going to create an asset on, best social media marketing strategies or something like that, it's fairly easy to adapt that into different verticals because the core principles are the same. Folks, we're talking with David Neff about a potentially counterintuitive idea in terms of expanding rather than niching down. But before we move on, let's make sure you and your team have enough time and bandwidth to think about expansion.
When I take a look at the biggest core benefit for Agorapulse, I have to look at two sides of the equation. I have to look at what it does for us as far as managing our community and all of the conversation management tools, which I appreciate so much. But from a far more pragmatic point of view, it saves us money. It saves us a lot of money because of the productivity the features that are built in with how it manages those conversations. We don't waste time. We're efficient.
Agorapulse allows me to get through all my messages and my replies really quickly. That's probably the number one reason for me wanting to use the tool. It saves so much time.
A big draw for me with Agorapulse was the ability to manage my YouTube comments. That is a huge feature for me, and here's why. Because up until then, I basically would have to go into my social media manager system to do everything there, and then I'd have to log out, go back into YouTube, and do the same thing there. Now, when you are managing multiple clients, this becomes a huge waste of time, right? And what we want to do is streamline that efficiency. So we can log into one website now. We can manage all of our major social profiles there, and we're able to serve our clients with more clarity and purpose.
They worked with us, they helped train us on how to get everything up and going, and we were able to cancel out all the other tools that we didn't need anymore. So it saved us a lot of time and a lot of headache for my team members as they're, now they only have one tool that they can maximize their clients in.
So, David, I mentioned, at least in my experience, this is a bit of a counterintuitive idea. People were always telling me the riches are in the niches, or however you pronounce niche. I know many
Niche.
agency owners,
Right.
I mean, they might worry about diluting their expertise or their brand when they diversify. How have you maintained this strong value prop across all these different industries?
Well, Mike, a lot of it is just is being selfish. I personally would be bored beyond belief if I were, for example, just handling technology accounts, just handling automotive accounts, or food accounts, or real estate accounts. So selfishly, I personally and professionally love the diversity of clients. So again, it just no day is the same. We have been fortunate enough to develop solid reputations and results for many different clients in a multitude of specialized segments.
Love it. Now, a moment ago, you were talking about how expertise in one industry often applies to basically every industry, some core principles. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you could share a story, though, where the knowledge from a specific industry actually created unexpected value or innovation for clients in a different industry. Does anything like that come to mind?
Sure. Like I'll use, I guess I could use public relations and publicity as an example. When we first started, you know, I had developed a great relationship with someone at the Philadelphia Inquirer who
Mm.
whose beat was telecommunications. And telecommunications was very volatile at the time because Judge Green made a ruling that AT&T was required to divest of itself, which is what brought in many different companies to compete in the various segments of telecommunications. So I developed a relationship with the key telecommunications writer at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and that relationship um, afforded the organization that I was working for to constantly be quoted in future stories on the volatility of the industry. So it's all so I realized very early on it's all about relationships. So I'm,
Mhm.
always preaching to my team, you know, you're not going to garner publicity by just doing this
Yeah.
or doing this. You garner more publicity for your clients by doing this and by having in-person meetings. So those principles still hold true to this day. So I had this is like going back literally two weeks ago. Um, Developed a relationship with a brand that we helped launch in Philadelphia. The name of the brand was GoPuff, is GoPuff. So GoPuff is across the United States of America. They're also in the UK. They will deliver anything that you would buy at a convenience store or a grocery store within a half hour, and they only charge $3. So I had helped to launch them. They started a delivery service of alcohol, which they named Go Beer. And lo and behold, they, I guess were the founders of the company. We're talking about a new partnership with Starbucks. And they, out of the blue, called me. Again, relationships with clients too are very important. And we learned about the partnership they have with Starbucks and how important it was and how much it said about GoPuff. I mean, basically, Starbucks, by partnering with GoPuff, Starbucks was basically saying to them, no one has perfected quick delivery where our drinks and food can be delivered with integrity in a very short window of time, like you, GoPuff. So they tested a program and they then hired us to get the word out about this plan is now permanent and this plan had an increased geographic footprint.
I love that story, and I love this point. I couldn't agree more about the importance of relationships. I had an entire podcast all about partnerships and relationships because they were just so important to every business. I'm wondering, David, as you've gone through this journey, are there any mistakes that you've made that you think other agency owners should
Oh my
avoid, particularly when it comes to diversification? None. No mistakes.
I have this show's not long enough, Mike, to tell you how many mistakes I've made. I'm continuing to make mistakes day in and day out. Um, yeah, every day is a learning experience. I learn something new every day. Um, More recently, there was a new piece of business that we were competing for, and we did not get the business. I'm pretty sure we came in second place, but it doesn't matter whether you come in 10th place or second place. We did not win the account. It was an important account, and I regretted not lowering my fee structure in my proposal at the 11th hour when I had already known that, I was a finalist. I do believe I
Mm.
did lower it a little, but I don't believe I lowered it enough. And I beat myself up over that. Um, Fortunately, they have re-emerged with a new need. It's still yet to be determined whether they're going to retain Neff, but fingers crossed, they will. So then I maybe then I'll have less of a regret about how it was handled. But I make mistakes all the time, and my team makes mistakes all the time. And when you make a mistake, just recognize, don't beat yourself up over the mistake, or don't beat your people up over making the mistake. I bring these things up so they can be learning experiences for all of us. So hopefully, smart people don't make the same mistake multiple times. Although I'm probably guilty of that too.
I'm sure we all are, but still, I think that's a fabulous reminder to everybody listening. I'm wondering, David, just my last question. Are there any resources or learning approaches that you recommend for agency owners that they want to expand their industry expertise? They're kind of bought into this idea, but they're not sure where to start.
Well, I have been a member over the years of different peer groups. So I think that's always a helpful exercise to join some sort of peer group, whereby there are other agency owners in similar size to whatever size your agency is, that you can have ongoing, regularly scheduled meetings, whether they be once a month, and they're probably Zoom calls, or maybe, the group I was a member of for a while, we would meet one time a year in person. Those can be helpful experiences. I would say something that would also be very helpful, which is something I regretfully never did, was having a mentor or mentors.
Yes, that is fabulous advice. I love mastermind groups. In fact, I think I still have a little bit of a free course. I'll look for it, put in the show notes for folks who've never been in a mastermind group. And we're not talking about the kind of mastermind group that you pay to be in. This isn't that. This is find some peers and colleagues.
Yep.
Informally, you get on a call once a week, once a
Yep.
month, and you share. And there's some certain structures that you want to adhere to make sure that it's valuable to everybody. So I'll look for that and I'll put a link in the show notes. David, this has been
Awesome.
really fascinating. I want to thank you for your time, for sharing your insights. I'm sure folks listening have more questions for you. If they want to reach out and connect, where should they go?
I'm happy to talk to anyone. My email address is dn at neff, Neff, knows, knows.com.
Fantastic. Thanks, David. Thanks to all of you for listening. Of course, we'll have all the links in the show notes below, but that's all the time we've got for today, friends. Don't forget to find the Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition on Apple. Drop me a review. Let me know what you thought of this episode and what you'd like us to cover in the future. Until next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by AgoraPulse, the #1 rated social media management solution, which you can learn more about at agorapulse.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and be sure to leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us.